text number 28. And now, usual tradition, I'll read the text, translation, and the purport. Then we can start the class in earnest. So, this text reads thus. Dharamata karamamoksham shaha sahopayam yata muni nanakyaneti aseshu varnayam asatatvavit. Dharmata karma moksham shaha sahopayam yata muni nanakyaneti aseshu varnayam asatatvavit. Word for word translation. Dharma, occupational duties. Altar, economic development. Karma, fulfillment of desires. Moksha, ultimate salvation. Cha, and. Saha, along with. Upayan means. Yata, as it is. Mune, O sage. Nana, various. Akyana, by recitation of historical narrations. Iti as issue in the histories. Varnayam asa described. Tatvavit, one who knows the truth. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, by Charanara Vindi, Sibhakti Virendra Swami. Jaga Guru Sivya Guru Shila Prabhu Pari. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. Purport. Incidents mentioned in the Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, are factual historical narrations that took place sometime in the past, although not in any chronological order. Such historical facts, being instructive for ordinary men, were assorted without chronological reference. Besides that, they happen on different planets, nay, in different universes. And thus, the descriptions of the narrations is sometimes measured by 3 dimensions. We are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. Bhishmadev described such narrations before Maharaj Yudhishthira in reply to his different questions. Hare Krishna. Om Gyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shala Akaya Chakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Pada Antikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kakanta Radha Kantanama Ostute Tapta Kanchana Gaura Ange Radhivindavaneshwari Brishabhanu Shutidevi Pranamamin Hari Priye. Mukankaroti Vacharam Pangam Lagayati Girim Yakripat Ambande Siri Guru Dinatarinam. Jais Vanchakarpata Rubias Jakripas and Dubias Evas Japatitanam Pava Ashnebio Vaishnavebio Namo Nama. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhattavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dharmata Karaman Mokshamsya Saupayam Yata Mune Nanakya Netita Sesu Varanayam Asata Tvavit. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and status of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truths. Hare Krishna. So I want to welcome all of the devotees once again to this auspicious moment of the day, where we have the opportunity to hear and associate directly with the Lord and his pure devotee, which the Acharyas have described as the ultimate goal of human existence. Before speaking, I want to offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees who are on this platform and those who are watching from the YouTube platform. I offer my hand over to all of the devotees and I pray at their lotus feet that I may be able to speak something that will be of benefit for my purification and to the listeners. The verse we are reading this evening, in essence, is like a summary of a narration that has continued in the last almost 15, 20 verses, describing the transcendental narration of the instructions of Grandfather Bhishmadev to Maharaj Yudhishthira. The stories of the personality of Grandfather Bhishmadev has been spoken by so many speakers. And because I consider myself unqualified to be able to compete with those powerful speakers in the matter of describing the personality of Grandfather Bhishmadev and the personality of Maharaj Yudhishthira, I will restrict this class to what Prabhupada emphasized in the purport of today's text. We have heard how powerfully the personality of Grandfather Bhishmadev is. His birth, his origin as one of the verses, his great, wonderful, what is described as a terrible vow. His silence in the court of Maharaj Dhritarashtra, supporting Duryodhana, and all of the events that led to the war of Kurukshetra. At the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, Grandfather Bhishmadev was lying on the bed. By the transcendental arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we understand that Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he has explained, Paritana yasa duna vitna sasya duskritam dhamma samstapanata ya sambhavami juge juge. Lord Krishna says that to annihilate those who are ministrants to give pleasure to the devotees, and as well as to reestablish religious principles. For that purpose only, millennium after millennium, he descended into this material world. And that purpose of the Lord descending into this material world is fulfilled in this conversation between Maharaj Yudhishthira and grandfather Bhishmadev. And in the purport to the text, when we read the text, Scripture is saying that then, referring to grandfather Bhishmadev, that grandfather Bhishmadev described the occupational duties of different orders of life, as we have been hearing in the last couple of days, and the status of life for those who are in that orders of life. And in the course of doing that, he cited so many instances for the history, because of the fact that, as already stated by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he is qualified, absolutely qualified, because why? As mentioned in this verse, he is acquainted with the truth. So Srila Prabhupada goes into the purport and explain that the incident mentioned in the Vedic literature, such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, sometimes to those who are away from the Vedic tradition, looks like more like a kind of a fiction, some story brought together, written by some authors. But Prabhupada is saying here, these are factual historical narrations, because most of them looks more like unbelievable narrations. When we hear about Lord Krishna building his palace in the middle of the ocean, to Westerners, these are completely inconceivable concepts. Such gigantic descriptions, housing those wonderful palaces that occupies the 16,108 wives of Krishna and all of the Yadus. They sound very unrealistic to a modern man. So Srila Prabhupada clarified those doubts here, quite apart from the fact that in recent times, archaeologists have started uncovering most of these facts in a real human sense. Prabhupada is emphasizing here in the purport that they are not just some fictitious stories. They are factual historical narrations. And some of them, they sound unbelievable to us. Why? Because they are, some of the activities are not directly activities of this earth planet that we exist in. Some of these narrations that is rendered in the Mahabharata, Puranas, Ramayana, they are activities that covers not just only this planet, but the whole of the 14 planetary systems in this universe and even other universes. So sometimes they sound too fantastic, too fabulous for us to believe them. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that these stories that are brought by great personalities like grandfather Bhishmadev, they are not fictitious stories. They are factual truths, even though they may not be within the concept of our understanding because of our limited level of knowledge in this age. One of the greatest defeats of a Kali Yuga man is that he lacks the ability to know even the most basic content of what is considered to be education or knowledge. So most of these wonderful narrations that we see in the scriptures are too fantastic for the modern man to understand. So therefore, Prabhupada said, in the all of the narrations and the instructions and the stories that grandfather Bhishmadev has narrated, that the most important thing is that we should simply be concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. In other words, these stories, we should primarily look at the moral lessons that they tend to give to us in the course of our reading them. Because for everyone in the Kali Yuga, our natural situation is that, like that of a diseased person, because the normal constitutional nature of a living entity is far, 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 far away from what we see in the qualities of human beings that we see in this age. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is the Kali Yuga is nicely described. And when you look at those narrations or descriptions of this age, you find that living entities in this age are pathetic. They are pathetic because everything that makes a human existence is taken away from our day-to-day experience. By nature, the living entities are what? They are called Anandamaya. Yes, sir. They are pleasures by nature. They are part and parcel of Krishna. As Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivam so jiva luke, jiva bhuta sanatana. They might fragment that part and parcel. But having taken this conditional body in this age of Kali, there is so much of suffering. So to relieve the conditioned soul of their sufferings, Srila Prabhupada said, for us, what should be more of concern to us is the instructive lessons that these narrations have to give to us, and how we can use these lessons to better our lives. So it is in this spirit that in this class, I want to directly I've extracted out the basic lessons that Grandfather Bhishma Dev taught in this lying down on the bed of arrow. In serial number, there are in total about 21 lessons that Grandfather Bhishma Dev taught in the all of these instructions that he gives to Maharaj Bhishma Dev. Maharaj Yudhishthira, sorry. And I will reference each and every of these 21 lessons, because that is what Prabhupada said should be our concern in this verse. So I would just, depending on how much the time permits us, I will reference each and every of these 21 lessons that Bhishma Dev taught to Maharaj Yudhishthira, and then speak briefly on them. Then we'll open up for question and answer so that we can share realization on this topic. Basically, there are 21 lessons that Maharaj Bhishma, Grandfather Bhishma Dev taught Maharaj Yudhishthira in total. And when we look at the last 6-7 verses of this canto chapter of this of the Srimad Bhagavatam, these 21 lessons are all can be found in those verses. And the number one lesson that he taught is what is which is actually described in the last 2 verses. Grandfather Bhishma Dev said that, number one, all human beings born in this age should have 9 qualifications, because we all want to experience blissful life. And Grandfather Bhishma Dev is telling Maharaj Yudhishthira, for one to be considered a human being, 9 qualities must be developed. And he mentioned them to be one, that one must be simple. One must cultivate simplicity. One must develop hygienic. One must be hygienic. 3. That is still under the number 1. Prabhupada chronologically listed this in the previous verse. Number 1 qualification is that the human being must have 9 qualities, and those 9 qualities are simplicity. One must cultivate hygienic and pure state of mind. One must be true to himself and to others too, and never lie. One must be peaceful and never to let anger take over him or her. One must be forgiving one should beget children only by one's own legitimate wife. One should not be promiscuous. One should always be distributing wealth equally and be supportive of servants and subordinates. That is just one. And when we look at these 9 qualities alone, among the 21 lessons that Bishop Dave taught, in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text number 8 to 20, this number 1 of the 9 qualities is described, and I will talk about that and go to the other numbers. In that portion of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, he described what is simplicity. Prabhupada said that simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. And the question is that how many can do this in this age? And what Bishop David is saying, these are some of the things that we must develop to be considered human in this age. Simplicity. The number 2nd lesson that was taught is that one should learn how to forgive. And in the purport, in the previous one, Prabhupada explained what is forgiveness. Forgiveness is what eradicates anger. So Prabhupada said in that purport that for one to be able to forgive, for one to be able to learn how to forgive, one has to become free from anger, which is one of the 6 enemies of the living entities. And most especially in the Bhagavad Gita, when you listen to the Bhagavad Gita throughout the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, so many verses of Bhagavad Gita, this anger is repeatedly mentioned. So for one to become free from anger, which is one of the greatest challenges in Kali Yuga, which is why there is so much of violence, one must learn how to be forgiving. Grandfather Bishmadev said, thirdly, one must develop the ability to complete whatever work he has started. In other words, a responsible man must not start a work that he cannot complete. All works must be completed and no task to be left unfinished, incomplete. Because an incomplete endeavor brings about negativity. This we can see in our day-to-day life. Number 4 lessons is that one should stay away from people who possesses, basically, Grandfather Bishop Day said, 4 persons one must stay away from. In the 4th lesson that Bishop Dave taught. And these 4 persons also are also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. One must stay away for somebody who possesses aggressiveness. A person with aggressiveness can turn anything negative and eat up a peaceful environment. Wherever you have an aggressive person, there can never be peace around that environment. So when one has an aggressive nature, Grandfather Bishma Dev said, one must avoid the association of such a kind of a person. Among the 4 kinds of persons, one must distance himself from. 2, he said, one must avoid a person who by nature is a very lazy person. Because a lazy person is an embodiment of negativity. Such a lazy person cannot be relied upon. A lazy man does not only decline in helping others, they even cannot help themselves most of the time. When somebody is lazy, such a person who is lazy, not only that is a problem to himself, to others, but it's also a problem to himself. And because he's lazy, he embodies all kinds of challenges. So Grandfather Bishop said we should avoid such a person in our lives. The third person he said we should avoid is a person who is non-believer or somebody who has no faith in God, an atheistic person. Because a person who is atheistic or one who who does not have faith in God, such a person sees him or herself as the center of everything. And the fourth person is a vicious person. A vicious person are naturally hateful people. They naturally, without no cause, they develop jealousy. And most of the time, sometimes they can be so clever that to the extent that they want to convert everything for their own sense gratification only. They are very expert in manipulating others. Such people only spread negativity and hatred among humanity. So such a person, Grandfather Bishop Dave said we should avoid them. That was the fourth lesson Grandfather Bishop Dave taught. The fifth lesson he taught is that we should not get too much attached to anything if we want to live a peaceful life. An Englishman saying, change is a constant net part of life. A person who is not willing or ready to change in his or her life, who is too attached to situations, cannot be successful, either materially or spiritually. Number six, Grandfather Bishop taught that one who wants to be successful in life he should embrace life in such a manner that is in consonant with the scriptures. There are several stages of life. And for one to live peacefully in this world and to attain ultimate goal of life, one must possess a quality of positivity. And such a person must develop the seventh quality or 7 lessons that Grandfather Bishop Dave taught, which is that one must put God first in everything. One of these very great examples of that is America. America rise to the top of the world because America was founded on what? The principles of God first. And as those principles go, degrade that principles, which the founding father of America is, we can see where America is today. So a person who wants to be successful in life must put God first. That is the 7th lesson that Grandfather Bishop Dave taught. And in the 8th lesson he taught is that these are elaborate subjects, and I'm trying just to point those the essence of those lessons that he taught because of the time that we have. The 8 lessons that Grandfather Bishop Dave taught is that, just as he mentioned earlier, that one must avoid 4 types of persons. He said one must make friends with 4 types of persons in life. And what are these 4 types of persons that one must make friends with? The first person one must make friendship with is a natural friend, one who is naturally friendly. Second person one must make friendship with is what? A person who has a common purpose. In other words, associating or friending somebody who does not carry the same kind of life, same kind of lifestyle or focus that we have, will definitely derail us. So if we want to be successful in anything in life, we must keep somebody in our company who has the same kind of common purpose with us. In other words, a Christian conscious person cannot afford to become too friendly with a kami, because he will become a kami. Like Englishman says, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. And if you want to be successful in life, Grandfather Bishop said, one must also keep family friends. Because why? Because in the time of danger, even when everybody leaves you, the family will not leave you. So no matter what it is, in the beginning of days of our Krishna consciousness, we were taught, your families are all Maya. Don't friend them. And at the end of the day, after 15, 20 years, 25 years, most of us have to go back to the same family. One must not disassociate from family friends, because in times of need, they will be handy to help one. But interestingly, Grandfather Bishop also said that one must also keep fake friends around himself. You must keep fake friends. Why do you have to keep a fake friend? Because this kind of people shows you the reality of the dualities of life. One must keep a fake friends also. So these 4 kinds of people, you must keep them. And the number 9 type of lesson that Bishop taught in the 21 lessons is that a person who does not work hard should be avoided. Such a person should not be friendly. In other words, one must cultivate a habit of working hard for what he wants to earn in life. Whether it is spiritual life, whether it is material life, one must cultivate the habit of striving, because a lazy man, like he has said before, cannot achieve anything meaningful. So in other words, even in spiritual life, there are so many pitfalls, there are so many challenges, but one must strive hard to work for the betterment, not just for oneself, but for one family and those who are around oneself. And in this way, one will become successful in life, in attaining the ultimate goal of life. The number 10th lesson that Bishop taught was that to become protected in this world, one must cultivate the habit of trying to protect these numbers, this category of people in his life. A man should always protect his family, the nation, the treasury, weapons, friends, and city that he lives in. Because without the protection of this, one also cannot live peacefully. The 11th lesson he taught is that one must be compassionate. What is compassion? According to the Vedic scriptures, one of the biggest forms of religious principle is compassion. And compassion means what? According to standard of Krishna consciousness, yesterday somebody was asking the questions, beggars, less privileged people. The greatest compassion one can give to anyone in life is to give Krishna consciousness, because that is the only thing that is sustaining. Every other thing is temporary. 12. Brother Bishop said, one must be alert in whatever state of life. And I remembered one time, it's like Guru Dev, some years back, he came to Nigeria, and then I had to get his autograph on something. And whoever has been close with Mr. Bhakti Titi Maharaj, he always encode this word: be proactive, be proactive. A person who is not alert can never be proactive. Is considered a dullard. A dull person in life cannot be a successful person, whether in material or spiritual life. So Grandfather Bishop says that one must always be alert, because Maya, the enemy in our conditioned life, is always working to make us successful. So in our conditioned life, we see her as enemy. But when we are always attentive, when we are always alert, we start seeing Maya as what? As the friend. But unless one is always attentive or proactive, like Guru Dev used to say, it cannot be successful. So Grandfather must say that one must always be alert. And the 13th lesson he taught in all of his lessons is that one must be cautious about money. Englishman says money is the root of all evil. Not only that, one should be cautious about money, in that one should not touch money. No. In fact, Grandfather Bishma did, when he narrated the story in giving this in giving these instructions to Maharaj Yudhishthira in the Mahabharata, he mentioned that one must keep secret, one must be secretive about his wealth. Unless one is secretive, he may disclose himself and situation, and in that way endanger his or her life. And we see this in the story of Sanatana Goswami when he was traveling to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have heard these stories. He was traveling, and then knowing fully well where he was going to pass through, he told the servant not to keep any funds with him. But the servant was greedy. He has no instructions of Bhishma Dev, and he kept some part of the funds. And when he kept that funds, it almost cost him his life. It's a long story. I'm trying to cut most of these stories short, but we have heard this story several times. 14th lesson. Grandfather Bhishma said that one should possess both sides of life. In other words, material world is duality, negative and positive. For one to be successful, one must possess the both quality of both ends. And Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned this in the Nectar of Instructions, that one who is able to adequately manage both material and spiritual life simultaneously while in this body becomes a successful person. Sometimes someone asks, why does a devotee get angry? We see it in the life of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, there's some nice story with Guru Das in India, in Vrindavan, when the Ramanariti temple, when Krishna Balaram temple was being under constructions. And then one morning, Srila Prabhupada was so angry when he came around, and devotees were asking, Prabhupada, why are you angry? So why should I not be angry? Anger in material world is considered to be negative. But here, Grandfather Bishop says one must even possess even those qualities that we consider to be negative, because why? They help us in our service to Krishna in some cases. So one must possess both qualities of both matter and spirit. And number 15th lesson he taught is that in life, all of these lessons Grandfather Bhishma Dev taught, he taught them with narrations of stories. And if we have to narrate all of the stories that he narrated in giving these instructions, time will not permit us. So number 15 lesson he said is that one should not have expectations. And how do we explain this? The more expectations we have from others, the more disappointed we will become. So in order to stay contented and peaceful in life, one should not have too much of expectation from anyone. That does not mean that one should not hope for better things. But one should have at the back of his mind that whatever expectation one has in life is dependent, as Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text number 8, that I am the ability in man. If one constantly remember this fact, that Krishna is the ability that makes it happen, his expectations will not meet with frustration. When our expectations is not founded on Krishna's consciousness, on knowledge of Krishna, then the natural thing is that we end up becoming distressful, and the first human will not be peaceful in life. The 16th lesson, Grandfather Bhishma Dev taught in the course of his discussion with Maharaj Yudhishthira is that for whatever reason, one should avoid hurting another living entities. But then we see that in our day-to-day life, there's no how we can do this. Because even our walking, our talking, we are hurting some other living entities. We have had several lectures that one should not physically, emotionally hurt anybody. Because why? A heart that is broken can never be mended. There are so many lessons to this. We know the stories of Salika Goswami meditation broken just by his ecstasy, but unconsciously offending. There are so many stories. I don't want to go into much of the stories because I just want to enumerate these points. If time permits us, then we can test on one or two more stories. One should, for any reason, but how do one avoid hurting others? The only person who is free from hurting other living entities is one who has given his life to Krishna consciousness. Unless one becomes Krishna conscious, it is completely, absolutely impossible. So, grandfather said one should avoid physically, emotionally, in hurting anybody. And this one, the 17th one, also one of the points that is spoken in that chapter 8, 13th verse 8 to 20 of Bhagavad Gita. One must be tolerant. For one to be peaceful in life, one has to become tolerant. Only through tolerance can one conquer desires and greediness. A person who is not tolerant cannot conquer, cannot overcome the vices of illicit desires and greediness. 18th, Srila Bhishmadev said, 18th, one must eat daily. One must maintain a healthy diet. And how do we get healthy diet? Bhagavad Gita has told us in chapter 16, food which are in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. And the symptoms of those food in those different particular modes of nature is explained in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, divine and demoniac nature. So what is the means of eating healthily? The only food that is healthy is that which has been offered to the Lord. And that is why we see in every tradition, in Krishna consciousness, we eat prasadam. Jesus Christ, when he taught his disciples, he taught them how to, whatever they give, want to eat, they should first and foremost offer it to the Lord as an offering. Even in the beginning of the Genesis, when the time of Noah, God told them how they should always offer everything to the Lord in first. So in other words, healthy food means that which is first offered to the Lord. And if one does not offer that which is pleasing to the Lord, then how can it be healthy? So in other words, one who offers his food to the Lord, like Bhagavad Gita said, chapter 3, is free from all sinful reactions. Not only that, is free from all sinful reactions, it lives a healthy life. We've had narrations, we've seen so many realizations. When people see devotees and you tell them their age, they say, are you sure you are this age? Why are you looking so young? Why are you looking so handsome? You look so younger than your age. It is because of the mode of eating. A person who eats anything other than prasadam tends to have the risk of growing old early. He has a short duration of life. So many vices are there. Grandfather Bhishma said, the 19th lesson, one must practice yoga. Yoga in this sense means connecting with God. And how do one practice yoga? Yoga contains do's and don'ts. And of all the do's and don'ts in all the revealed scriptures, they have been summed up together in what we call the 4 pillars of religious principles. And that 4 pillars of religious principles, Srila Prabhupada has nicely presented the 4 regulative principles to us. One who follows the 4 regulative principles of Krishna consciousness automatically is a yogi. And that is why in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 47, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, he said, my dear Arjuna, one who is engaged in this Krishna consciousness is the topmost of all yogis. So grandfather said, one must engage in yoga if he wants to become successful in life. And 20, he said, one must keep gaining knowledge. In other words, the day we stop learning, Prabhu was saying yesterday, the culture of education, culture of training, the most of the challenges that happens with our system, whether in West Africa, whether it is in America, whether anywhere, is that when you see any of our international ISKCON movement vibrant anywhere. It is as a result of culture, of knowledge, and education. Everyone glorifies show party. The glory of show party is not anything serious. It's not anything extraordinary. It is all hidden in what? The cultivation of knowledge. And the sum and summary of all knowledge. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, text number 19, one who knows this knowledge of me, he knows everything. There is nothing else. One who knows me in truth, without doubt, without any doubt in his mind. In that verse 19 of Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, he said he knows everything. And that is why it amazes anyone when the devotee starts, when he speaks, people wonder, where did you get this knowledge from? Even if he has not gone to secondary school, talk less of university. When his devotee speaks, he speaks volume. Why? Because it is the essence of everything. He's speaking Krishna. Krishna and Krishna's knowledge are not different. So when one gives Krishna in every different languages is called Almighty, all-powerful, because that is the embodiment of what is knowledge. And the last lesson, which is the essence of all of the teachings of Grandfather Bhishma Dev, is that one must get mastery. What is that? Which is what Grandfather Bhishma Dev exhibited in his last moment of life. Grandfather Bhishma Dev was lying on the bed of arrow. Just ordinary prick of needle. We know how we react. But he was lying on the bed of arrow. But because he has learned mastery, what is this mastery? Control of the senses. He's no longer under, it's not a Godas, it's a Goswami. So our Krishna consciousness movement is training us to become a Goswami. Unless we become a Goswami, we are not a Krishna conscious person, because the culture, the lifestyle, the attitude, the mood of a devotee is that is what? He's a Goswami. Because he learned the prowess. I'm such a person who learns this art of control in Krishna consciousness is as powerful as Grandfather Bhishma Dev. And when one has been able to effectively control himself, he becomes a successful person in life. And what is this success? What is this success? I'll quote a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which summarizes what is success. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, text number 5, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Antakale chamam eva smaram muktwa kale varam ya prayati samad bhavam yad nasti atrasa sayab, that and whenever and whoever at the end of his life quit his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And in the purport to that verse, Prabhupada gave what is complete success. In the middle of on the purport of that verse, Prabhupada said, if one wants to achieve success at the end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. And how do we remember Krishna? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has summed everything up. Arai nama eva kevalam, kalao nasti, eva nasti gati, anyata. And in that purport, I quoted, Prabhupada continued, he said, therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, 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 Hari, Hari, Hari Rama, 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 Hari, Hari. One who is able to cultivate this process in this manner becomes a successful person like Grandfather Bhishma Dev. Srila Prabhupada, in our modern times, is the personification of Grandfather Bhishma Dev. Srila Prabhupada exhibited how a devotee, because sometimes we look at the history and we say, okay, Grandfather Bhishma Dev, okay, it's a long time back, but in Srila Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada demonstrated that death has no power over one who is a pure devotee. In one of the previous classes, somebody was asking, how do we develop that kind of a mastery that we can control our time? Yes, the benediction is there, because Grandfather Bhishma Dev was given the benediction because of his of his vow. But apart from that, the secret of becoming a master of or controller of the time we can quit this material world is given by Srila Prabhupada in his teachings. And all we need is just simply chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, 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 Hari Hari, Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. By cultivating all of these 21 lessons that Grandfather Bishmadev taught, cultivating them in our life, these are Krishna conscious daily life, then our life is already a success. At the time of death, we will not be dragged away reluctantly. We will be welcomed with a nice palanquin, and we'll be waving our hands bye-bye to the devotees. Well, I'm going now, devotees. Please come and join me later. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop the class here so that I can give time for question and answer. So, but I'll recite the verse for the today once again. The verse says that Dharmata Karama Mokshamscha Sa Upayayata Mune Nanakya Tia Eseshu Varnayam Asata Twavit. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and status of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your enthusiastic lecture.
Thank you very much.
Drinking the nectar through our ears. Prabhu, I wish that we can get this because of me, I was the one controlling this thing. I could not write. Maybe if you can share that 21 lessons with us in a word format, we appreciate it.
I'll send it. You can share it to everybody.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So I don't know if there's any question. Please, can you indicate by raising your hands? I know there should be so many questions today because it's very, very wonderful. So any question? Yes, Adi, Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Shriman Salika Prabhu. Thank you for the class.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. That was a very fully loaded class. You earlier on had said that according to the teachings of Pitamaha Bhishmadev, he advises that one stays away from anybody with aggressiveness. If someone is aggressive, it's recommended that one stays away from such a person. And then shortly after that, he also said that whatever so-called bad qualities somebody may have, it can still be used in the service of Krishna. So I would like you to throw a little more light on someone being aggressive, so we have to stay away from him. Yet the same quality can also be used in the service of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Grandfather Bhishmadev was teaching a general knowledge. And knowledge is dissipated according to the level of the students. Grandfather Bhishmadev was talking to Maharaj Yudhishthira for the welfare of the whole of human being. And unless one comes to the platform of pure devotional service, there is no proper utilization of any gift of Krishna. Everything becomes positive when it is connected to Krishna. Duality disappears immediately when one comes to platform of Krishna consciousness. So on the human level, under the influence of the most of goodness, passion, and ignorance, the code of conduct is what Grandfather Bhishmadev was teaching. But when one comes gradually through the cultivation of Varnashram Dharma, and it rises to the mode of goodness, and it comes to the transcendental platform of goodness, then everything that is rejected, just like the example I always like to give, in the primary school, we were taught -10 from 1 is an impossible solution, because at that level, we cannot comprehend. But when you get to the university or even secondary school, when the teacher says minus from 10, you can no longer say it is impossible. It becomes a possibility. Why? Because there is a higher level of understanding. So on the material plane, for one who is under the Van Astram dam principles, working under the principle of cultivation of education or knowledge, one has to follow these principles gradually. A pure devotee does not have any rules and regulations to follow. Sometimes they follow it just to give us, to live by example. And I'll share a short story by in the early days of ISKCON, when Srila Prabhupada started taking devotees to India, and Srila Prabhupada visited Sridhar Maharaj. And devotees were being taught that devotees must, one cannot take anything unless it is first offered to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada, when he got to his godbrother's place, Sridhar Maharaj, they entered the kitchen. First is that they were talking, which is not supposed to be. When you're in the kitchen, you're not supposed to be talking. Prabhupada and his godbrother were talking. And while they were doing the talking, as they continued doing the talking, they were cooking for Krishna. But all their talking was what? Krishna Kata. And by the time they finished talking, it just served the food into the plates. And then the Prabhupada was sitting. The devotee was alarmed. What is this? And they were wondering what is going on. But because of etiquette, they couldn't say anything. So immediately they left there, they met Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, you said, no, eating any food that is not offered to Krishna is boga, is considered to be sin. But then, what is happening? Your godbrother just going to Krishna and cook and eat. What is this? And Srila Prabhupada explained to them. So a pure devotee of the Lord, while he's buying the book, while he's washing them, while he's cooking them, he's offering them to simultaneously to God, because it's never disconnected with Krishna. But in our conditioned life, we're already disconnected with Krishna. So therefore, it is not advisable for us. Just like even in our house, our little child, the moment he carries something like a knife, we rush to collect it from him. Why? Or her. Why? Because he will injure him or herself with it. But if your 15 or 20-year-old child carries a knife, you will not even look at it twice. You just look away, because you know that he must be needing it for some good purpose. Unless he has developed a trait of stress or distress or something, then he's under monitoring. Unless it's on that kind of situation, you don't get agitated, you don't get worried when he carries blade or knife, because you know he definitely wants to use it. But if a day-old baby, 1-year-old baby, 2-year-old baby carries knife, immediately we become. So Grandfather Bishop is talking about aggressive. We should avoid aggressive people. Only one who has come to that platform can manage these qualities and offer it to Krishna as an offering. I hope I answered the question, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
So Prabhu, yeah, in one of when you were exploring, talking about the teachings of General Bhishmadev, you mentioned that General Bhishmadev said that we should not associate with the karmis, that if one associate with them, one will become like them. So I started thinking, if we don't associate with them or don't go and preach to them, how can we make them Krishna conscious? Because because sometimes this all these teachings, sometimes they will say like this, in another place they will say another thing. So how can we balance this for some of us who are neophyte and listening to this?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. I know you know the answer to this, but you just want to broaden the discussions. Srila Rupa Goswami, who is the acharya or the authority on our Krishna consciousness teachings, as Prabhupada said, has already answered this question in Nectar of Instructions. For those who are on that level, we give them association. For those who are on the platform of Krishna, we associate with them. And for those who are backward, highly elevated devotees, we serve them and render service to them. We get messages from them. So in meeting new people or people who are not Krishna consciousness, we should give them association. And then the nitty-gritty of how to give association has been taught by our acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada demonstrated this in so many ways when he came into America. The most of the thing is that we compromise our activities to suit the karmis. but a pure devotee gives the opposite of that. So in dealing with those who are non-devotees, having this knowledge, we should become compassionate to them. And that is why it is said the quality of a guru is Titiksha Karuna, is tolerant, because he knows that they are nonsensical, they have all kinds of bad habits. So he's tolerant. Just as one of the lessons that Bhishma Dev taught, one has to be tolerant. We have to be tolerant. And at the same time, one has to be compassionate. And that act of compassionate is what? To give them Krishna. And when we go to them, we're not going to learn anything from them. We want to give them association, we want to give them Prasadam, we want to give them Krishna now. And that is why it is unfortunate. Sometimes I see in our temples, it is one of the major challenges, especially in West Africa, is that when people come to our temples, they are new, they are crying, they are lamenting their situation. And what is their lamentation of their situation? They don't have money, they don't have this. And instead of us to help them by giving them the holy name, we start giving them that same thing which they already have tested outside there. We want to give them Otmopo. And in this way, we degrade ourselves to their own levels. So to those who are non-devotees, yes, we should not associate with them. We should give them association. And in this way, we benefit them. And they become benedicted by that such activities. And ourselves also become elevated because we are rendering service. And even if there is any danger in such a situation, Krishna promises he will take care of that.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. We really appreciate your enthusiastic lecture.
Thank you very much.
And also thank you. Help us to thank Palumi and Lola for coming to grace the occasion today. And say next time we are going to lock them till the end. That we observe their presence.
Okay, that's good.
Yes. So Sadi Prabhu wants to ask more questions.
Yes, Sadi.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah. I would need your clarification on this thought that I have. I've heard from many devotees who say that one cannot give what he does not have.
Absolutely.
I mean, I do not have $1 billion. So you ask me for $1 billion, I cannot give you. I don't have it. So if one does not have Krishna, how can he give Krishna? And we go out to preach, to supposedly give Krishna to these non-devotees, when we ourselves do not have Krishna. So if it is true that one cannot give what he does not have, then why do we go out to preach when we know ourselves that we do not have Krishna? So to me, one cannot give what he does not have. It's just a useless proposal. It doesn't make sense to me. Can you shed some light on that?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Your questions are always very thought-provoking. So, yes, one can give what he doesn't have. That's an absolute statement. But when we go out, we carry Krishna with us because we are not going on our own. When one goes out in preaching in Krishna consciousness, we're not going out because we have already had Krishna, but because the Guru gives us Krishna. The first stanza of the Mangalati prayers, Samsara Dava Nadali Daloka, the message is coming from above. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, and it's coming from Parampara. And when the Guru, when the temple president sends us, go out and give this, we're not going out because we have Krishna. Just like in one of the interviews of Srila Prabhupada was asked, that I think that was perfect question, perfect answer. And the Prabhupada was asked, you are not perfect. And Prabhupada said, yes, I'm not perfect, but Krishna is perfect. And because I'm only giving what Krishna has said, so I'm also perfect. So in the same way, when we go out to preach, if we go in our ego that we want to go and defeat the others, then we're going on our own. In such a case, we will not be able to affect the person there, neither do we affect, do we get purification, because the spiritual master is sending us out so that we can get purification. Why? Because he wants us to render service. So we are going out in the mood of a servant of the Guru to assist the spiritual master in distributing. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was going to instruct Srila Prabhupada, he said, you are young and you are educated. He said, if Krishna lets you print books, go preach in English to the English-speaking countries. And when Srila Prabhupada carried that instruction, when he was in the Jaladuta and when he arrived in Boston, in the McKinney song, he narrated that I'm a foolish, insignificant, unqualified person. But Krishna, if you so wish, speak through my mouth. So when we go out to preach, we're not going out because individually we are perfect, but because we carry the message of the perfect person, Krishna, transmitted via the media of the Guru. Our message that we give is also perfect. And in this way, whoever receives it in that manner also get purified. And ourselves that is given it also get purification. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. Any more questions?
Prabhu, yeah, thank you for the explanation. But from your explanation, it indicates that it actually contradicts what you earlier on said, that yeah, it's an absolute fact that one cannot give what it does not have. Because you are attesting to the fact that even though one may not have, but if one is simply following the orders of the Guru, then one can give whatever. And my analogy is this: like bank tellers and postal office workers are some of the poorest workers we have in the world. You know, if I went to the bank and I applied for a loan of $2 million, the bank teller sitting behind the counter can give me that $2 million, but he himself does not even have $100. But he can give it to me. He can give it to me because he's been ordered by a higher authority above who has that $2 million, and he's simply giving it to me. So me being a devotee, I do not have Krishna. Like I said, I do not have Krishna. But if I go out there and give what the person who has Krishna, what Srila Prabhupada, who has Krishna, has given me, even though I do not personally have Krishna, but on the order of Srila Prabhupada, I can give Krishna to somebody. That is why I believe that that statement needs clarification whenever somebody says that one cannot give what he does not have. Because I'm here, I do not have $1 million. But if I am able to apply for a loan and I am qualified to have the $1 million, then I can have it and then give to whomever I want to give that $1 million to. Even though I personally do not have it, but because I've allowed myself to be a via medium to receiving that, now I can receive it and then pass it on. Like what's the name? Kabikana Prabhu always says his mantra is Lord Chaitanya's teaching. Wherever you go, whomever you meet, preach, teach. You are a guru. I mean, Lord Chaitanya saying we are guru does not make me have Krishna, but simply by passing on the message of Lord Chaitanya to whomever, I become a guru. What do you say about that, Prabhuji?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Actually, you answered the question in the course of asking the question. And the question is simple. The equation is simple. Using the example of the cashier, a cashier doesn't have 1 million, but he has the authority of the bank to give even 10 million, provided the person who comes before him is qualified to receive such an amount. He is giving the 1 million or 10 million, not because he has it, but because he has been given 1 million to be able to give it to others. So when we say that we cannot give what we don't have, means that on our own, we can't give Krishna because we don't have him. But if just like the banker or the owner of the bank, proprietor of the bank, instruct a cashier that the moment somebody comes with this qualification, give him $1 million. Automatically, although the banker, the bank manager or the owner of the bank is not physically there, just like the guru or Krishna is not with us in our presence when we're talking to the non-devotees or the new intakes or new person, but because we have received Krishna through his pure devotee to give it out, automatically we are not giving what we don't have, because even though we do not individually or personally have, he has been given to us. So Krishna gives himself to his pure devotees, and the pure devotees give Krishna to us. So therefore, we cannot say we are giving what we don't have. We are giving what we have because even though we don't own it, but it has been given to us, just like the cashier in the bank. He doesn't own 1 million, but because he has been given 1 million as a via media in between him or her and the owner of the bank and the customer. So he can give even 10 million because he has been given to him. So in the same way, ourselves, we may not have Krishna. So it does not defeat the argument that you can't give what you don't have. It's just like somebody comes into the street now and it's not a devotee. He has no, just like, okay, let me give a more practical example. There was sometimes we were preaching somewhere and somebody asked me, so how do you describe you and the Guru Maharaj in Nigeria? What is the difference? And I said, we are all talking about God. He said, no, I know that there is something I want to know. I want to know whether this person, because you have mentioned the word bona fide in the course of your preaching. So I want to know whether it's bona fide. So when he asked that question, and I look at the audience, and I saw that the audience is permissible. And then I said, I will explain it to you. I said, who is the guru? Who is the teacher of Guru Maharaj? I said, if you can find who is his teacher, and the teacher of that teacher, if he links to Krishna, then it's bona fide. So for you to know who is bona fide, you have to know one cannot become a teacher if he's never been a student. And that is what we have seen in all revealed scriptures. Excuse me. So therefore, our authenticity for giving Krishna is not based on our individual capacity because we have Krishna, but because Krishna has given himself to the pure devotees. And the pure devotees have given that Krishna to us. So we have the potency, we have the capacity to give Krishna. So at that moment, we are not empty. We would not fall into the category of one who does not have. We possess Krishna because Krishna has given himself to us through his pure devotees. So it does not defeat the argument that one cannot give what he doesn't have. One who is not initiated, one who is not under the shelter of any bona fide representative of God cannot affect anybody, even if he carries the Bible, even if he carries the Vedas, even if he carries the Bhagavad Gita and starts speaking. And that is why you see that before Prabhupada come to the West, even though there were over 500 Bhagavad Gita translations, there were no devotees, because those people were carrying the same Bhagavad Gita we are carrying. But because they do not have Krishna, even though they carry Bhagavad Gita, they carry Krishna, they don't have him. Because why? Krishna is not with them. Krishna is not given to them. They don't have any connection. Just like in our rooms, the energy light is there. And if it's not connected to the power source, the bulb will be there, will remain in darkness. But the moment that bulb is connected to a wiring system that goes to the source of power, then automatically the bulb will give light. In the same way, our qualification to give Krishna is because Krishna has given himself to us. So at that moment, we are not in the category of one who does not have. We do have Krishna, and that is why we can speak here. Only on the authority of Srila Prabhupada that all of us can sit on this platform here and be speaking Bhagavatam. Otherwise, what is our qualification? We can do it. It's because we have it. That is why we are giving. I don't know whether I answered the question now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. So at least those of us listening to the class today and whoever is probably watching on YouTube might understand that, well, it is not absolutely a necessity that you give something you have. We just have to be ready to receiving whatever the Guru is giving us and pass it on exactly the way the Guru gave us. Just like the postal worker. The postal worker just receives the mails, receives the parcels. He may not have a TV set in his home, but he will be able to pass the TV set on to you because he's just making himself available as a via medium. So with this understanding, we care less about this stupid proposition. People say, oh, this person is not a pure devotee. We don't care who is a pure devotee, who's not a pure devotee. We are following Srila Prabhupada. It's Mahabhagavat. And as long as we follow Srila Prabhupada, if we sincerely repeat what he has said, whatever we are delivering is pure and perfect.
Absolutely.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
So, Dr. George, please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Your hand is up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. My humble obeisances. Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Clearly, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you clear, loud and clear. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I would like to know this Vana and Ashram. What I would like to know, is it practiced among the devas or for that matter in the heavenly planets also? We really wanted to know this.
Interesting question. Is Vanashram practiced in the higher planetary system?
Yes, I would like to know if it is practiced over there also, or only on the earthly planet.
Because I have not been in the heavenly planet. But according to the scriptures, the Vedic scriptures, like Papa said in the purport of the text today, these Vedic teachings is practiced in different planetary systems. Sometimes even in other universes. So based on that purport of Srila Prabhupada, when you look at the purport of the text we read today, the very sentence Prabhupada said is that incidents mentioned in the Vedic literature, such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, are factually historical narrations, but took place sometimes in the past, although not in any chronological order. Such historical facts, being instructive for ordinary men, were asserted without chronological reference. Besides, they happen on different planets. That is the point. So they happen in different planets, in different universes. So, excuse me. Based on that statement of Srila Prabhupada, we can assume that the Vanashram dam system is not practiced only on the Earth planet. It is being practiced in every, not only in all the planets, but even in other universes also. Because the Vedic scriptures is not limited to this Earth planet. It is practiced in all the universes. So based on that factual statement of Srila Prabhupada, yes, we can categorically say that, yes, Vanashram dam system is practiced in all of the universes, including the higher planet or lower planet or any other planet, but at different degree, in different circumstances, as Prabhupada also mentioned in the purport. And just like some of the aspect of the Vedic teachings that we hear, we cannot practice them here because we are not having that capacity, but it is being practiced in other places. So Vanashram dam system, being part of the Vedic teachings, yes, we can rightly say that it is practiced in all of the on other planets, in different categories, on different circumstances, based on the environment that it is.
Okay. Thank you very much. But my second question has to do with, you see, in purport, the test before this very one, who lecture has been given on by His Grace Ganga Prashad yesterday. He made mention that the main duty of a grihasta is to give charity, and enumerate the other duties of the brahmachari and the vanaprastha also.
Yeah.
And over there, Srila Prabhupada made mention that penance and austerity is for the sannyas and the vanaprasthas. So why we as a grihastas, we've been asked to, one way or the other, to austere and to sometimes penance also? I would like to know if this thing have been listed for, this is for the grihastas and this is for the sannyasis and this is for the vanaprasthas. Why grihastas have to do other ways also? That is what I wanted to know also.
But George, in the first place, let me educate you on this fact.
Okay.
In Yuga,
Yeah.
Kalau Sudra Sambhavan. We all are Sudras in this age. So when you look at what makes a grihasta, you think, actually, if you study the scriptures and see what rudiment it takes to be called a grihasta, you will not, you'll be too amazed that you wonder whether you, in fact, you lose all hopes in the process. So Vanashram dam system, to some degree, we are practicing, and then for the purpose of coordination, we identify ourselves as grihastas, as sannyasi, but in the real sense of it, according to the very scriptures and Bhagavad Gita, in this stage, everyone is born as Shudra. But by systemic training, as said in chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, we can rise to become a grihasta, but it's almost impossible in this age. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and he gave us an easy access, easy route. So don't struggle to be this. Don't worry about being a virgin. So he said in his Shastaka prayer, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam, the God is Kamai, Mama Jamani, Shwari, Bavata, Bhakti, I to keep quiet. I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not this, I'm not that. I just servant of Krishna. I don't want weight. I don't want this. I don't want that. In the Shaitan Charitamrita, I'm trying to remember the verse in the conversation between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. I think it's Madhya Lila chapter 19. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that this Vanashram Dam is completely outside of and is below Krishna consciousness in real sense of it. So when one comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, it's already rise above the platform of Vanashram Dam system. Is completely higher even than the Brahmana, who is supposed to be the head of the Vana and Ashram. So in essence, our ultimate goal or focus in Krishna consciousness should be that to become a devotee of the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us an easy process of becoming a devotee. Just chant, dance, and take prasadam. Finish.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Adi, Prabhu, please unmute yourself. I think you want to contribute more.
Yes, you are a mystic. How did you know I want to contribute instead of asking a question?
Because I can read your mind, Prabhu. I'm a mystic truly.
That's what I'm saying. You are a mystic. Yes. Well, thank you, Salika Prabhu, because I'm just trying to give some sort of speculation, and I hope it's an educated speculation to Dr. George's question. I do not have any shastric proof whether Vanashram is followed in other higher planets. But like you said, Salika Prabhu, I think that yes, Vanashram system is honored in all material planets. Because Krishna himself says in the Gita, I think 8:16, Abrahma Bhuvandoka, from the highest planet to the lowest planet, it's a place of repeated birth and death. There is old age, there is disease, but we also know that the angels, the Gandharvas, they do not grow the type of old age we humans on earth go through. They give birth, they do not give birth like the way we do. So even though it is there, but it's practiced a little different because they are not exactly on this earth planet. So it's not practiced exactly the way we practice it here. I do not know if the Devas also use money to purchase whatever. But from the scriptures, I'm tempted to believe and assume that yes, they do. Otherwise, why will they have a finance minister? If they do not forsake, why do they have the Ashwini Kumaras? So all the problems we go through on earth goes on the other higher planetary systems. The only difference is theirs is not exactly the way we feel it here. Just like the way me and you feel joy and happiness is not the same way a dog or an ant feels joy and pleasure, but they also feel joy and pleasure. They have their own style. They have their own way of enjoying and suffering. So that is my speculation, and I hope it's an educated speculation, but I think it conforms with Salika Prabhu's answer to George's question.
Okay, am I permitted to speculate also like you, Prabhu, following your footsteps?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I think Sri Prabhupada says we are allowed to speculate philosophically. Yes.
So, Prabhu, so let me follow your footsteps. So, like you rightly mentioned about the Vanashram Dharma in the heavenly planet, and also the growing old and all these material miseries that we face on earthly planet here. Yes, just like rightly you said, they are partially practiced here because I don't think that there's Shudras in the heavenly planet. That is number one. There may be Brahmanas, there may be Kshatriyas, but I don't think there is Vaishyas and Shudras there, number one. Then number two, they may grow old, but I don't think that they have the influence of growing old like we do on earth. Their own old age may be counted in terms of time. And also, they take birth, but I don't think they face the miseries of birth we face on earth. Like you have to stay 6 months in the womb and all this, and folded. Then you have to be born. Then as a baby grow. According to what we have been hearing from Scripture, when a child is born, he grows. He becomes mature immediately. Like the stories of Brihaspati and his wife who was kidnapped by Chandra. That is clearly an example in that. So what I'm saying is that Varnashram Dharma may be all pervasive, but in the heavenly planet, I don't think all the four, what do I call it, Varna is there. Because there are no Shudras there. There are no Vaishyas there. The sun god is a Kshatriya. That is why we have the Kshatriya lineage on the planet, on the earth. Moon god is a Kshatriya. That is why we have Kshatriya moon from the moon god on the earth planet. Apart from that, we have not heard that there's some Vaishya lineage from the heavenly planet or Shudra lineage from the heavenly planet. But this I clearly mentioned in the scripture how the Kshatriyas lineage come from the heavenly planet, the sun and the moon specifically. And when we talk about Brahmanas, we know that the people like Brihaspati and Shukracharyas and all these, the spiritual master of the demigod, they are on the Brahmana platform. So with that speculation, we can say the Varnashram Dharma is limited there. We can say Varna, because I don't think there is ashram there. Because I don't think apart from the Sanat Kumaras, who are brahmacharis, I don't think there's some cultivation of brahmacharis
I was just going to use that example when in response to what you're saying.
Yes.
There is Varna and ashram in all of those planets, but the standard of Varnashram, just like in primary, secondary, and university, they are all students, but the level of studentship is different. So in the based on the Vedic scripture is practiced all over the universes, but the practical way of application may be different. Because I was going to say the four Kumaras, they are brahmacharis, they are celestial brahmacharis, and so the Varna, and when we talk about persons like Kuvera, who is the treasurer of the demigod, so their activities are different from ours because of their different constellations, but all of this exists in different categories according to the location and environment in which the living entity exists, but in every planet and universes. But maybe it's something that we may still ask some other senior devotees, but based on evidences and stories that we've had from the scriptures, and even from the explanation from this purport as given by Srila Prabhupada, some of these stories that we hear of a Brahmana, of a Vaishya, of the Varna and Ashram, some of them are narrations of activities that are not from this planet. So by virtue of that statement, we can easily assume and say that, yes, they exist there, but maybe in different way and from the way we are. Just like we are in Kali Yuga now, and we're experiencing Kali Yuga in the particular place. And I will give a gross example, sir. We are all in the Earth planet now, and we are all suffering Kali Yuga. But the level of suffering of Kali Yuga in West Africa is not the same in America. There is difference. But the both regions are all within the Earth planet and experiencing the Kali Yuga at the same time. But the format of experiencing the same Kali Yuga is different in all of these different locations. But thank you both for the contribution.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yes, I think I can easily agree with what Salika Prabhu just said, because I might be earning $200 a month here in the United States, and I'll be considered very poor. But if I have that $200 in some other country like Haiti, I'm not poor, you see. So we hear even amongst the sages, they also know others who are superior to them, like Narada Muni. Narada Muni is a sage amongst sages. We have Indra, who is the king of heavens, and we have all these women who just come to dance to make him happy. So they are Sudras, but their Sudra form is not like our typical Sudra here, where you, excuse me, say you have to work in the gardens and things like that. So, like Salika Prabhu said, the Varnashram system permeates all material creation. The difference is the fineness of how it is seen and performed. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much,
Prabhu. Thank you, Kavi.
All glories.
Thank you all.
All glories, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, there's no more questions, so maybe we end it here. Thank you very much all for participating. So we request everybody to please unmute themselves and let us loudly chant a powerful Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate Prabhu. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you all.
Vachakal Pataribias Chakra.
Yes, Jackie Pass in the Vacha. Aditana Pavanevio, Vaishnavevio, Namo Namaha.
His Grace Salika Prabhu Ki Jai.
Hey Radhe, Braj Devi ke Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Okay, Kavi Prabhu, I'm sharing that my lesson
okay.
notes. I'm
Yes,
sending it to you now. So
I love that.
you like.
Yes, Prabhu.
I'm sharing them now to you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. We appreciate that lesson. It's very, very important.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I'm still developing it. Actually, I'm trying to make it into a PPT PowerPoint presentation, so that with pictures and everything. But I've not done that. But it's still in
in terms of like a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I've not finished that. I'm doing it, but I didn't use that today because I've not finished it. But the words, I'll send it to you now.
Oh, very good. No problem. But maybe we can organize another program once they finish their Bhakti Shastri. A weekend, you can just give the Bhishma Dev lessons as a seminar on Sunday or Saturday, Sunday, somewhere.
Yeah, that would be fine. That would be
we can organize it. Please do it and complete it. To very nice.
Yes. Then we can reference the verses in the Bhagavatam where they find that particular lessons and all of that in the Mahabharata. Okay, I've not finished all of it because of this class. I just prepared the lesson notes.
Please do, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Are you sending it on WhatsApp?
I'll send it to your WhatsApp now.
So that we will close here very soon now.
Yeah, because I wanted to share it here before, but I see that almost everybody has left. So I'll send it to your WhatsApp.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. We are grateful.